and Stranger Things, and I like it because of the mystery that it brings and the what ifs that could possibly be. But that's definitely why I like Stranger Things and why I like the show Lucifer um, before it officially ended back in I think 2022, 2022, 2023.
All right, good stuff there, Sean. We're gonna write these on. We're gonna write these on the side. I see my co-host Tom's here, so welcome. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We just went live on streaming. We're streaming everywhere. But Tom, since you got here late, I'll fill you in. Real nice that we've been having a good conversation here. Deshaun just said we're talking about favorite shows. What do you like? So it was Deshaun. It was Lucifer, and what was the second one? Because I agreed on the second one.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. Okay, Stranger Things. So Tom, we talk media here. We talk storytelling. We talk all these different ways to share your story. So some that have come up so far, I went with Breaking Bad and Mo. This is off the bat, just talking about these two series. Madison talked about Severance, and she agreed about Breaking Bad. And then we have Lucifer, which Deshaun talked about the human experience in Lucifer, and then Stranger Things. So that's where we're at to start off today. So Tom, since you just got here, you want to make some excuse on where you were and then jump into this conversation?
I don't need to make any excuses. The show doesn't start until I'm here. So you guys were just having a nice little chat. Not the smartest guys in the room hadn't started yet. So you guys were just the warm up, right? Now it's not the smartest guys in the room. We're here. We're streaming live on the internet. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn, right? We're on Twitch. Now it's not the smartest guys in the room. And now the show starts. So
Man,
that's
your
first
buddy.
of all.
Ouch. You came out hot today. See, you go to the dentist. He must have had a cavity filled or something because he's already cranky right off the bat.
No, I didn't. I knock on wood. I did not have any cavities. But I went for my regular dental cleaning, as you do every 6 months. And unfortunately, the hygienist was great. She was fast. I told her I had a meeting. I had to be out the door. I was the first appointment of the day at 8 a.m. I was there on time in the chair at 8 o'clock, ready to go. And unfortunately, the dentist, I think he had another patient. Like he wasn't just twiddling his thumbs and being slow, but I think he was with another patient. And so he was a little bit delayed getting into the room to do his part of the exam. And so that's what held me up. But no, I'm not being cranky. I'm just keeping it real, man. Just keeping it real.
All right. You keep it real. You quiet down for a minute. We're gonna get to. I see this JFK here. Every time I look at this JFK, I want to say RFK, but JFK. It looks like sometimes we have people. If you're streaming, if people listening to us streaming might not be able to see, everybody on Clubhouse has a profile picture, a thumbnail picture, whatever you want to call it. And I'm looking at a picture. It looks like a baby drinking a Rolling Rock with his feet. So that's what I am seeing. So this is interesting to me. So JFK, you can explain your picture and then give us a favorite series and why. What do you got?
I grew up in a very Irish household, and if you were old enough to grab dad a beer, you can get yourself a beer. So I always joke that's my baby picture there. Because I probably
you're one for one. Good joke. Come on, keep it rolling.
And a favorite show. I love Breaking Bad, but I always go back to The Sopranos when I think of stuff like that.
Okay, tell both real quick, JFK. What is it about Breaking Bad, and then what is it about The Sopranos?
It's the same for both. Secretly, every one of us wants to believe we'll do anything it takes to, even if it's the wrong thing, to get what we need to get.
Wow, good answer. Okay, we're rolling. This is good. I come up with good topics. My we do a segment called Tom's Thumbs. They're always good topics. Last week we tackled March Madness, and Tom gave the worst answer. And so now this is favorite series and why. This is good. So I am glad I'm here. What say you, Tom?
I mean, I hope you didn't hurt your arm patting yourself on the back there. for your topic choice. I would push back a little bit. You picked March Madness. My first answer to March Madness before I pushed to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. My first answer was I don't care. So, you know, whether or not you pick things that are always great topics, yeah, I don't know. There's some debate, room for argument there, but no, I enjoyed it last week, and I'm here for the blowback if people want to give me grief for giving March Madness a thumbs down. They can have at it. At the end of the day, I stand by what I said, and it's because of what that tournament has become about, right? Like it's has nothing to do with sportsmanship or athleticism. It's what sports betting has done to that tournament.
Honk shoe. Tell us about a show that is your favorite. What do you got, Tom? Give us.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you a question first, Dom, because you mentioned Breaking Bad. I have a specific reason why I really like both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul as series, but I'm curious to hear what because I missed it. Thanks to having somebody else's hands in my mouth this morning. I missed what you said about Breaking Bad. So tell me while I try to get the taste of another man's hands out of my mouth.
Come on now. Okay, now I might not be able to duplicate the answer, but for me, one story arc, character development, that not knowing where the character is going to go, and they arc so much. You love them. You like with Walt or Jesse, you love them, you hate them, you're confused by them. You think they're going to do one thing and they do another. They're unpredictable but predictable. So to me, there's so much growth. Like sometimes you watch something and the character never grows. In this case, they grow, they develop I'll just go back to The Sopranos as well. Like The Sopranos at the end, like Tony was lovable. And then at the end, you might be like, man, I don't know if I like Tony at all. And that's the same kind of growth with Walt. And so that's just, I thought it was beautiful all across the board. Hey, one more thing that I want to give you about that, and I could go on. Madison even knew like the episodes when she spoke about Breaking Bad. She knew she was like, oh, this episode. But one of the things that I thought was it was beautifully shot, and they used colors for a reason, like the bright blues of people's eyes and the blue of the crystal meth they cooked and stuff like that, and the yellows of their suits. But one thing that I find was so interesting was they always focused on like a spider, something small, and then they would go out to the desert, the grandness of the desert, and so unique across the board. But I could go on and on, but go on, Tom, and then we got to get to Debbie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I agree with you. I think Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul were both sort of beautifully shot. I think at the beginning, Breaking Bad followed this. It changed a little bit later, and I think in response to as that show aired, in response to some of the support that developed around the character of Jesse. But I think initially, when you look at the early seasons of that show, and Better Call Saul kind of maintained this throughout the arc. There were almost no scenes without the main character in them, right? Like both of those shows, like I said, Breaking Bad kind of changed in later seasons a little bit. But both of those shows initially anyway, really followed the story of one person, which was a bit of a departure, usually on series where you have an ensemble cast, where you have a bunch of other supporting cast members. You'll spend a lot more time developing those other characters. And so they'll sort of be co-leads while there's like one that's a little bit above the rest. Everybody is relatively sort of on an even playing field in terms of like their development for the sort of core cast of the show or the series. And Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul both kind of broke that mold in that they were really heavily focused, almost exclusively so, on the development and the story arc of one character, right? In Breaking Bad, in the early seasons, obviously, that character development stayed very, very focused. It later branched out a little, spent a little bit more time on Hank, a little bit more time on Jesse, a little bit more time on other folks. But in Better Call Saul, this is a cleaner example of this sort of methodology, this storytelling methodology that they employed. Saul is in almost every scene of that series, right? There's only minutes in any episode that you go without seeing Saul, really, right? Like there's only a couple of scenes in each episode where you don't see Saul. And even then those scenes feed into the storyline and the character development and the things going on in Saul's life. So they're very, very intricately tied. So I really like those shows for that, because they did things a little bit differently. The cinematography was interesting in Better Call Saul, the use of color versus black and white, right? So like to kind of show that temporal difference, that time difference between sort of what they were treating as present day Saul versus Saul's past, right? So Saul's past was in color, present day Saul in that series was in black and white. And that was something they held true throughout the series. It was really interesting. So I loved both of those for that reason. I also really liked Shameless. We've talked about that. You and I offline have talked about that show quite a bit. And I liked it because they didn't ever try to sort of all of the sort of heroes of that show are actually anti-heroes, right? They're all perfectly imperfect. William H. Macy's character is is far from perfect in any way. He's a bit of a villain, but endearing nonetheless in some ways. But I thought that was a really interesting show that I think did a really good job of staying true to that notion that like no one in this cast of misfits is going to emerge as the changed person who is now morally and ethically above board. Everyone is always going to have questionable ethics. Everyone is always going to have questionable morals, or a moral code that works for them in their context, in their circumstances, and sort of no apologies for it. That is the way it is. That's life on the South Side of Chicago. If you're poor, and they're not going to sugarcoat it. So I like the show for that they took that kind of approach to it. Said, look, these people are all going to be very sort of broken and imperfect, but let's tell their stories nonetheless, right? Just because they are not role models doesn't mean that their stories shouldn't be told, or stories like those shouldn't be told. So, yeah, I really liked it for that as well. I mean, I could go on. I've got all kinds of shows that I really like, but yeah, I don't know why Chris is my buddy Chris is commenting. Yeah, I saw your face, so he's commenting. Coast Guard Alaska, which I was the series producer of for the first three seasons of that show. So I will take that, Chris. Appreciate it. Say Yes to the Dress. I don't know. I never worked on that. So I know a lot of people that did, but I never actually worked on that show. So I don't know if you're trying to throw that in as something I worked on also, but I did not.
The funny thing is, I wonder if he really does like the show or not. Like, okay, he says House Hunters. I watch House Hunters. I watch all. I love the Bahamas, all the Bahamas life. Those lakes I watch the ones about luxury lakefront up in Canada. Love it. When I know what I'm going to get every episode, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get 3 houses. They're going to pick at the end. I get to see this stuff. I'm like, I like this. I don't like this. I see a lake. I see the beach. I see blue water. Love it. So I'm going to give you a weird one. And then we're coming to you, Debbie. Pardon the interruption. It's a show on ESPN. 2 sports reporters. They've been around forever. They probably invented hot takes, where you talk about something for a minute, 2 minutes at a time. Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser. I know I'm going to get 2 minutes on 15 topics, and they're going to ramble on about them. At the end, they wrap it up with a finish, and Michael Wilbon says, "See you soon, knuckleheads," or something like that. I know what I'm going to get. So I watch it. For me, it's like when I used to watch zombies, Walking Dead. I liked The Walking Dead because it was mindless. I knew I was going to get zombies. I knew I was going to get a couple jump scares. For me, those silly zombies was a beauty. Was it well written or anything like that? Probably not, but I knew what I was going to get. Debbie, what do you got? What's on your favorite series?
Good morning, everyone. I have probably a couple of them. I do agree with Deshaun on Lucifer. Uh, the struggle with the good and evil, but yet they do it with humor. So you find yourself laughing, quite a bit. But I also like the NCIS and now the NCIS Origins. It really tells the story, not while they're solving a crime, but it shows the compassion these detectives, take with the victims and with each other. And it also, there's stories about that support the militaries. There's a lot of good writing in those stories where it leaves me at times with a tear in my eye. So it really it moves you, and I think they're very well written. And if you really want to talk about a classic show that's well written, that you can still laugh, turn it on, laugh to this day, that's the I Love Lucy show. Back, with Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. The writing that was done in those days, and then of course the delivery. It's classic. You can still watch a show and laugh, and to this day. So those are some of my opinions for this morning.
Well, thanks,
Right
Debbie.
on. Go on, Tom.
Yeah. So Debbie brought up NCIS, which I'm glad she did, and it ties back into something I wanted to say, following up on what you were talking about, Dom, with the ESPN show and with The Walking Dead. Just to give you a little aside, just to give you an idea of how little a kind of dedicated sports fan I am, and hence the somewhat silliness of you're asking me about March Madness. You should have known I haven't watched a March Madness game since, I don't know, I was a kid. But I literally, you're talking about these two ESPN, sports reporters that have been around forever. I don't recognize either of their names, and I've never heard of that show. And I genuinely can't remember the last time I watched ESPN. So yeah. So there's that. Anyway, what I wanted to call back to, though, was something that I think is apropos to Debbie talking about NCIS and what you were talking about, both with that ESPN show and The Walking Dead. And that is, like, when you look at long running series, right? Like The Walking Dead, like NCIS, and franchises, right? Because NCIS is a franchise. There's like NCIS, name a city, right? There's 8 NCIS shows. It's like the it's the 21st century's Law and Order franchise, right? And the reason why those shows work, and the reason why they work so well, and the reason why so many people watch them, is because they are so formulaic in the best possible way. And what I mean by that is the stories are different, right? But the formatting, the way that the story is told, is the same every time, right? So I don't know the NCIS format by heart. So I'll go to Law and Order, but I'm sure for anybody who watches NCIS, you probably also have watched some of the Law and Order franchise. But every Law and Order episode follows the same format, right? You start with the police at the crime scene, right? The police do their investigation, right? They make an arrest. They do an interrogation. They hand off to the DA's office. The DA's office takes the case to court, and you end up with a resolution, one way or the other, generally speaking, right? You either end up with a conviction or an acquittal, or a plea bargain, or whatever the case may be, right? But you end up with a resolution. And that's true for virtually every episode of Law and Order that's ever been made. over 1,000 episodes across the whole franchise. That's true. And the reason why it works is because that kind of episodic formatting, which is very true of the ESPN show you were talking about, also true of The Walking Dead to some extent, allows you to create and set expectations for your audience, right? And then live up to those expectations over and over and over again. And what happens if someone meets your expectations or exceeds them over and over and over again is it builds trust. You start to trust them, right? And so Dom, for you, when if you're flipping through the channels and you come across an episode of House Hunters, or you come across that show on ESPN, or you come across an episode of The Walking Dead, you stop there and you go, I know what I'm going to get, right? I know what I'm going to get. And that's what I'm signing up for. It gives me comfort and a little bit of security to know, okay, House Hunters International, I'm going to get 3 houses. They're going to look at 3. They're going to pick one, and that's going to be the end of the show. Like, I will stick around for that because I know what I'm getting, right? And it's the reason why I bet you everybody in this room has a favorite fast food restaurant, right? Everybody in this room probably has the meal that they tend to get at that fast food restaurant, even if you don't eat fast food very often, right? Like, I don't eat fast food very often, but I could tell you what my order is from McDonald's 9 times out of 10 that I go to McDonald's, right? Like, I have an order there. It's because we like routine, we like repetition, right? We like patterns we recognize because, again, human beings are pattern recognition machines. We like patterns we recognize. And so we like these shows that serve up and deliver these formats that we've grown accustomed to over time. And that's why these shows work. Now, there's exceptions to that rule, right? Or that rule is not universal, obviously. Breaking Bad, for example, broke that, right? Like, and as did Better Call Saul. They broke the formatting sort of structure, the standard formatting structure that most shows adhered to, and kind of treated each episode like a standalone piece of work rather than everything being so formulaic and so repetitive the way they are on other series. I think there's plenty of room for that, but I wanted to highlight that the reason why we like shows like that, the reason why we go back to them time after time, the reason why we like sitcoms is because of that sort of that repetition and that formatting that gives the show the ability to set expectations and then meet or exceed those expectations over and over and over again, building trust with the audience and growing that audience over time. So that's why those shows work. That's why we like them. So why don't we go to Dave quick and then come back to Tom's thumbs, because I think everybody's heard me talk long enough for a couple of minutes anyway.
That's fair. That's fair. We had a good time when you weren't here this morning, Tom. We were really enjoying. We were laughing and having a good time.
You were having a private conversation. Nobody even knew it was happening because it wasn't live streaming anywhere.
Chris was here. Your buddy Chris was here. Okay, Dave, favorite shows and why? What do you got?
I think my top favorite show was Firefly. I'm actually currently rewatching it with my partner. And it's one of those shows that only ran for a single season, but the way the cast and everything kind of came together was an amazing show. And interesting fact about that kind of show, they had such a ground-wall support that they actually ended up getting a movie made, like, because all the fans kind of were like, let's bring this back. They ended up getting a movie made, and they also have all kinds of other media. Other favorite show, what did I put down there?
So hold on, Dave. What is it that you like so much about that one?
What I liked a lot about Firefly, I would say, had a lot to do with the character development and also like kind of the setting too, because it was this group of people who were kind of just all banded together, just trying to survive. And it was almost like a mix between a Western, so it had a lot of Western tropes, but it was taking place in a sci-fi in outer space kind of realm. So it's like this kind of mix of genres. And going to what kind of Tom said, right? Like finding shows that can kind of take like the formula and make it their own and really bring something special out of it. And when I think you get a great ensemble cast that can play off each other so well that you can see that on screen, and that's what I think can make a show really good or really bad. And one more kind of thing with when Tom was talking there, I also thought of Seinfeld, of another show that kind of breaks molds, and another favorite show of mine, especially growing up in the 90s, was just like how it subverted the sitcom trope of they never got better. They never learned a lesson. They were always like terrible people. And that was kind of like the joke in it.
Yeah, well said. And Seinfeld's a great point. No, zero growth. That's it. Very interesting. They never grow. They never change. Even on the last episode, they're talking about what they were talking about on the first episode. Wendy, we're coming, but first we got our quick segment, which is Tom's Thumbs. I try to get Tom worked up, or he could just answer politely, but we will see. So, Tom, this is a simple one today. What do you think about April 15th? The tax deadline?
I mean, thumbs down. I mean, I don't know. Like, in what context?
You don't get a context, man. It's supposed to be hard. You went rogue on March Madness. You could have said, "Boy, the buzzer beaters," and well, do you think that's a good idea? Should we have taxes? Should there be a deadline? Should people just pay them all year long? Why are people waiting? I mean, come on.
I mean, look, I don't think anybody enjoys paying taxes, right? But I think it's something we all have to do, right? I mean, if you want to live in a country that has any sort of public utilities or services, you have to pay taxes, right? Like, otherwise, where does that stuff come from? Like, your taxes pay for the roads that you drive on every day. Your taxes pay for the police and the firefighters that keep us safe, and the first responders that help us when we're in times of need, right? Like, your taxes pay for a lot of things that are good. I will say this: our tax system gets a hard thumbs down. The day April 15th, like, I don't give a shit what day it is. Like, it could be July 22nd. Like, it doesn't make any difference. The day itself makes no difference to me. The thing that I would rail against, or I would push back on, is our tax system. It is absolutely absurd that we have to estimate what we think we owe the government, spend a whole bunch of time and energy and effort developing paperwork to submit to them so they can review it and say, yeah, that's what we got too, right? Because they already know. They already know what you owe. They already know what you should be paying in taxes, instead of doing this whole insane back and forth, like supporting this whole ridiculous and unnecessary industry that is worth billions of dollars, right? What we should do is just get a bill where they say, hey, you owe this, or hey, we're going to send you this, and then we take care of it, right? Like, that's it. It should be that simple, right? Because there are reporting requirements. If you're on regular payroll, your employer tells the government how much they've paid you. They withhold taxes from your check. They give those taxes to the government. The government has your taxes. They know how much you owe based on how much you've earned, because they know how much you've earned, and they know how much they should refund you. Like, what are we doing playing around with submitting paperwork to them so that they can sit there and go, no, that doesn't match up with what we have. Try again, right? Like, it's absolutely absurd. And the only reason why we do it is because of private industry. Because private industry has lobbied Congress, who writes the laws that govern our tax collection procedures. They've lobbied Congress to create a system that benefits them, right? Like, the IRS should have a free system to submit your taxes through, right? You shouldn't have to employ or go through TurboTax, right? Or QuickBooks or H&R Block or any of these other companies that make insane amounts of money off of doing tax preparation every year. Your taxes are already prepared. The IRS already has them. They know what you owe. They should just send a bill or send a refund check and call it done. The whole thing is absolutely absurd and stupid. And the amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into preparing taxes for people every year is ridiculous. Instead of spending all that time and effort and energy on collecting taxes from average everyday people, we should maybe make companies like Amazon pay taxes, or maybe make companies like Apple pay taxes, right? Like maybe Walmart should pay some taxes, right? Maybe we should focus our energy on making sure that huge multinational, multi-billion or trillion-dollar corporations don't escape paying federal income taxes. So that's my thought on taxes, right? If you had asked me about taxes, I would have been able to answer it very easily and quickly straight to that. But instead you picked April 15th as if I care about April 15th any more than I care about any other day of the week. I don't, right? But taxes, yeah, I got something to say about taxes. They get a hard thumbs down. Our tax system is ridiculous. Thumbs down.
There you go. There's a thumbs down. Tom, Tom's thumbs isn't meant to be easy for you. It's meant to, you got to challenge your brain. I can't come in here and ask you taxes. You know, you got to think a little. This is a place for brain growth, not the smartest guys in the room. Now we've tackled taxes. Now we're on to favorite series and why. Let's see. Jimmy asked, we're going through the comments here. Jim Ajay asked, has Tom ever given a thumbs up? He gave a thumbs up,
I gave a thumbs up to a comet or an asteroid. If it doesn't hit us, if it's a near miss and we get to study it, I definitely gave that a thumbs up.
Okay, so now Chris is mad. Chris says, wait, what happened? Taxes? Jim Ajay says, I hear many people agreeing with this. This comment says, Bikes and Hikes is the best series on TV. I've seen a few episodes of that. You got two amazingly handsome and funny gentlemen go out on biking and hiking. They're buddies. There's storylines of friendship, and then you see mountains and things like that. And at the end of the day, they usually get to their destination. Brilliant show. Okay. Chris says the Blacklist hooked him hard and then did him dirty. I agree. I had to leave it. I committed so long to this show, and it just got weirder and weirder. I was done. I was off. Wendy Babcock says Sons of Anarchy. I watched some of that. Need to watch more. And Grey's Anatomy. Never watched Grey's Anatomy. Okay, that's what I got there, Tom. Those are some of the series that have been popping up.
I was going to say you missed one of the best comments from Chris.
What did he say?
Down at the bottom there.
Okay, let's go back.
I'm going to make you read it.
Tom is the best when he's a little pissed off. I got a lot of heat last week. People were like, "Man, Tom was on fire." I got messages, and you turned heel on us, Chris. Don't feed into this on him. Okay, best series and why.
Well,
okay.
Tom, let me just say this. So what Chris said was Tom is at his best when he's a little pissed off, right? The whole idea of Tom's thumbs, right? The reason why, don't try to paint this any other way. I'm gonna make sure that people understand why Tom's thumbs happened to begin with. It was your idea, and it was your idea because you think it's funny when I get a little wound up about something. And so you were like, hey, I'm going to create a segment where the whole idea of it is to get Tom wound up about something. So he'll rant about it and say something either ridiculous or funny or controversial or whatever. Right. And that's what we're going to do from now on. Is every episode we're going to have Tom's thumbs where he's going to do this. So don't try to paint it like you're just some innocent little bystander, like you had no idea what you were doing. Like don't try to color it that way. That's not true. Don't be disingenuous with the fine.
You know what? To your point, I got multiple texts that said Tom comes up like such a jerk, and you come off so nice and likable. Yes, I have seen the light. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
okay, like that's fine. I I mean, I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, that's fine. You can be vanilla, and I'll be the thing people get excited about.
Oh man, let's see. Tom is PC. Tom is real. Ouch, Chris. Okay, I got more stuff. I want to talk about. So Yellowstone. Yellowstone was great till the very end. This Is Us, and then it's one that you should all watch. Ozarks. Ozarks, but it's all story arc, development, characters not knowing what they're going to do next, the trouble they get in. The one thing about series compared to a movie, like you watch a movie 2 hours, movies don't often have the time to develop the characters. So you're seeing, you got to have 5 characters, 3 characters, 2 characters in a movie. In a series, you can have 20 characters and you can paint them little by little by little by little, to Tom's point, where later on they carry whole episodes, whole storylines. You're rooting for the 3rd or 4th or 5th or 10th character. You know their family, you know how they act. You saw them when they were a completely different person. So the arc of those other characters.
Game of Thrones is a great example of that.
Do tell.
Well, I just said, I mean, Game of Thrones, like, I mean, how many freaking characters did that series have?
I never watched it. I've
Right?
never seen one dragon.
That was a rhetorical question. But I mean, it was crazy. Like, so many characters that you actually spend a good chunk of the first season just trying to figure out who everybody is. If you haven't read the books, if you're not already kind of steeped in the story and the literature that series was based on, yeah, I mean, you spend like the whole first season just trying to piece together like who's related to who, how do they know each other, what's their history, what are their family histories, why does this person not like that person, or these people not like those people, or do they like those people, or they used to be allies in another, like in the past, or whatever. Like, I mean, it's very, very complicated, but I mean, just massive numbers of characters. And yeah, there would be like episodes where you would not see some of the sort of main characters of the show, like the Jon Snow, right? Who everybody, or like Daenerys Targaryen, right? Like some of these main characters, like you wouldn't see them for multiple episodes in a season. So they weren't in every episode. There might be, they might be in an episode, and then like 3 episodes later, you get back to them, right, in that season. So it's pretty, like they did that, to your point, every episode of that show was an hour long, and the seasons were, 8+ episodes, right? Some of the seasons were longer than 8 episodes. So like you end up with like 8 to 10 hours of screen time over the course of that season. Like that's 3 or 4 movies or more, right? Like it's a lot of time to spend developing those characters, and it's because they have that time that they're able to do that. You could never do that in a 2.5 hour movie. Not a chance, right? Not a chance. Chris just asked, and then we'll throw this back around. We'll see what other people think. Chris just asked thoughts on Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso now has a 4th season coming up. 4th season? 3rd season? Anyway, they got a new season coming up. There's another season of Ted Lasso coming. It's official. They're in the writer's room. They're putting together the storylines and writing the season. So I really like Ted Lasso. I thought it was a great story, great episode, great characters, really well acted, fun, easy to watch. Tackled some societal issues and stuff mixed in there, but always kind of did it with a light touch. It never felt heavy-handed or over the top or overbearing. So I really like Ted Lasso. My wife is actually watching Ted Lasso now for the first time, and she's really enjoying it. So let's kick it. What do you say, Dom? We'll kick it back around the room, and let's go back to Madison. And Madison, what do you think on Ted Lasso?
I tried to watch it one time and fell asleep. My parents are obsessed with it, but I couldn't get into it. And after this conversation, maybe I should give it a go.
Well,
That's
that
a
made me feel a
burn.
little
Go
old.
on.
What'd you say, Dom?
I said that's a burn on old Ted. I don't have the channel. How many channels? How many streaming things? I was going to ask you. Streaming could have been Tom's thumb. How many can I have, man? I can't. I'm gonna go broke. I got to stop it somewhere. I mean, come on now.
Well, I mean, get rid of cable TV first of all.
No way. I need my Xfinity. You know, I need to watch the Pirates. I need to watch my live TV. I need to watch my 10 sports channels at one time. So okay. So let's go back around. Deshaun's next up. Any next favorite series? Something you watch? Maybe a oldie but goodie. Something you keep going back to. What do you got for us?
CSI Miami.
I like that too, man. Go on.
The reason why I like CSI Miami, like David Caruso, is Horatio Kane. You know
yeah, Horatio was the man. Preach, man. This guy was cool. I mean, I got to say, Deshaun, Horatio Kane, maybe the ugliest guy ever, but man, he was cool. Go on, Deshaun.
Yeah, like he was always straight to the point. And I always tell people, like, when they try to compare me to people, I was like, no, I'm more like Horatio because straight to the point. I make smart comments, but it's like Horatio was straight to the point. He took everything into account, and if someone on his team was in trouble, he would do his best of trying to help them out without getting the internal business affairs, the IBA, involved if he possibly could.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, Deshaun, let me ask you. So this red-haired, light-skinned guy with the name Horatio, are we supposed to believe that Horatio was like, where's the name Horatio come from? It always struck me as odd.
If I remember correctly, the name Horatio is actually in a William Shakespeare book and play.
Wow, see, educate me now. I feel silly. Okay, come on, let's go. Not the smartest guys in the room. Favorite series, why? Debbie, what do you got for us?
Well, you hit on one that I've been watching, the Yellowstone series. You know, there's Yellowstone 1883 and now 1923. And, you know, I think it epitomizes the Western, the Western genre. And, it's some good storytelling set in the West. So I've been enjoying those series.
Well said, Debbie. Taylor Sheridan is on fire right now. I did a lot of filming on Mayor of Kingstown, which is another one of his, and somehow I get cut from every scene. Tom, I got the face for Clubhouse because I get cut anytime I go to a set. I'm like, people should just stay away from me because they are getting cut from that scene. But he's on fire, Debbie. Everything he does, the character development's really good with. Is it Taylor or Tyler Sheridan?
I'm not sure. I think it's Taylor Sheridan.
So the next one you got to watch is, I'm watching 1923. It's really helping me learn some things about the other shows, but the next one that's really good is Landman. It's another one of his gyms. So got to watch Landman. Anybody that hasn't watched Landman, yeah, story, writing, development, good. And Dr. Touchy's in the house. I wonder what favorite series for her. But go on, Dave. What do you got? Another favorite series and why?
Or you can give us your thoughts on Ted Lasso, Dave.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention for the Ted Lasso thing, because I don't have Apple TV, but one thing I actually love about YouTube and like TikTok is that you can almost watch a whole episode or get a lot of good clips and kind of almost watch the whole thing on YouTube. And that's where I've seen most of Ted Lasso. So I haven't seen the whole series, but from the bits that I've gotten out, I've really liked actually how they tackle mental illness. I think it's a really tough subject to really kind of tackle in media, and to do it in a way where it's, I think, really authentic, and you kind of felt that. And particularly as an American living in Europe, Ireland, UK, very different countries, but pretty similar in some cultural aspects. That like I'm the overexcited Ted Lasso, like in my little village here in Ireland. So I kind of relate to the character a lot. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying to find a way to for the YouTube clips to come out.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate that, Dave. And I think here's two things I would say is one, in terms of kind of calling back to what Dom was saying, like how many streaming services do I have to have, right? Here's the benefit of shows like this being available on a streaming service like Apple TV, right? Is you only need it for however long it takes you to watch the show. So if you can watch that show in a month, or that show and a couple other shows that Apple TV Plus has, right? Like, then, I mean, you can watch that and Severance, right? In a month. You just watched them for like $7.99 or whatever Apple TV is a month. So, so there's that, like you can do it month to month. You can turn it on, turn it off whenever you want it, need it, watch it. Like, so you don't need to keep it all the time. So that's kind of one of the benefits of it, and something I encourage people to do. Of course, the trick then is you have to remember to cancel it or turn it off. The way I always do that is the day that I turn it on, I just put a calendar reminder for like the next month, or even like a week later, because usually with most of those services, you cancel it. They're saying, okay, your membership's canceled or whatever, your subscription's canceled. It'll take effect next month. So you get the rest of the month anyway. Along the lines of Ted Lasso, and I thought of this, Dave, when you mentioned the way Ted Lasso tackled mental health, which I think was a great point. One of the shows that I think is a really good case for that is also on Apple TV, also from some of the same writers and creators of Ted Lasso, and that's Shrinking, with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford in the sort of starring roles. That cast is fantastic. That show is fantastic. It's incredibly well written. It's really sort of touching, but also funny. It's just, yeah, it's a beautifully done show. So if you like the sort of smart, emotionally intelligent writing that you find in Ted Lasso, you can find that also in Shrinking. So it's a show definitely worth checking out, particularly for anybody that likes Ted Lasso. Definitely take a peek at that. So Dr. Tachi, in case you couldn't tell, as we come around to you, we'll come to you, and then we'll do Dom's show and tell, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll ignore Jim's barbs in the comments there. But Jim calling Dom and I cheap for turning streaming services on and off.
Where's the hate? Well, I mean, come
Right?
on,
Like,
now.
he's
It's
just
a
like
wholesome group. Yeah.
I feel like I'm, like you're catching strays now off of me. Before he was on your team, now he's calling you cheap and saying, I'm like,
you know what happened? You got people so wound up that now you're right. I'm catching Tom heat here.
catching strays, right?
Yeah, that's right. Damn.
Anyway, Dr. Tachi, we're talking favorite series and why. So I'm sure you've got some thoughts on the subject and some things you like and don't like, and we'd love to hear what your sort of favorite TV series is and why.
Are we talking current or in general?
In general, could be something that's currently airing, could be something that aired 50 years ago. Doesn't make any difference.
So I'm a complete TV addict. So this was the right and the wrong question to ask me. Good morning, by the way. And anyway, so if we're talking about, let me just step back for a moment. I love older TV. So, and my favorite things are like old detective series. So I like Cannon, Mannix, Perry Mason. What is the other one? He's a cowboy from New Mexico that's now on the New York City Police Force. I can't remember the name of it, but it will come to me. So I like those types of things. In addition to, I love the Twilight Zone. And one of the things I like about the Twilight Zone was because Rod Serling was so insightful that the things he did were also kind of like lessons in how not what not to do and how to be a proper human being. So and you got caught up in the story and you didn't realize that. So also Alfred Hitchcock Presents. So I love all those older television shows, especially old detective series. I now coming forward a little bit, I particularly loved one of my favorite series that I wish they could remake is A Different World. And that was kind of a spin-off in a sense of the Cosby Show, where they were at a fictional HBCU. And one of the reasons I like that is because that was the first time I ever saw HBCU life in action on television. And because like my parents did not go to HBCUs, I ended up going to one for grad school, but my parents didn't. So I didn't grow up with that whole HBCU life, fraternity, sorority life, that type of thing that was common for a lot of for some Black families who did. And so it was like an eye into the world. And honestly, between that and the movie School Days, that really almost single-handedly increased interest in young people attending HBCU. So I love A Different World. And then now there's I just watched it, I think last year. Was it last year? End of last year. Lupin on Netflix, which is excellent, but his disguises are horrible. I'm like, now good and damn well that's him. There's no other tall Black people around. That's him. He's not hiding. So Lupin, which was excellent. And then there's actually a series that I watched that's a Nigerian series on not Netflix, sorry, YouTube, called Jennifer's Diary. So it's a comedy and it's hilarious, and it's yeah, it's all Nigerian characters. They work in a beauty shop, and it's hilarious. So that's where my TV interests lie.
I'm going to play off Dr. Tachi on something she said. She named the show. A Different World was the show, Dr. Tachi? Is that how you
Yeah, it's A Different World.
Okay, I used to watch A Different World, Cosby, all that. But what's interesting about even the title of the show, A Different World, what we all want to see is show us a different world, whether it's Shameless, whether it's a Western, whether it's Tom out on the Coast Guard. Show me something that I haven't seen before, that I'm not familiar with, the South Side of Chicago, all these other things, and then give me the human experience, give me the character development, give me the decisions that we all have to make on a daily basis, but putting them in this other world. And it seems to work over and over and over again. So Tom, you got a question for Julie? And then what do we got here? We got a couple things. Tom, you are not keeping a tight ship today. You have this run a show, you showed up late, you're running shows off, just all bad.
Well, so we already covered why I showed up late. I was delayed by some guy poking around in my mouth. But anyway, we know why I was late. I'm keeping an eye on the clock myself. In fact, I know that we've been live for 53 minutes and 37 seconds. Thank you very much. So nice trying to accuse me of not paying attention to how long we've been going here today. And we are going to go a little bit past 10:30, and that's okay because we started a little bit late. So we'll wrap up a little bit late. We still got time for show and tell and for a wrap up and to hear from Julie. Julie, I'm going to challenge you. You listed like 18 shows in the chat there. I'm going to challenge you. We're going to challenge you to pick one and tell us why you like that series.
Well, okay. I mean, because Debbie Griffiths is here, I'm going to say Sister Wives, which is a reality TV show. I mean, I do really love Handmaid's Tale. It's excellent storytelling, but in terms of reality TV, Sister Wives is like fascinating to go inside the world of AKA polygamy and the destruction of the whole institution. So I guess I'll go with Sister Wives because Debbie Griffiths is here and we are big fans of that show. By the way, you know what you guys remind me of? Those two old guys on the Muppets. Have you seen that? You know, the two guys in the...
Were they super handsome, Julie? Is that what you're trying to say?
They're super old, they're cantankerous. They are always like sitting there and like heckling everything. Maybe it's Tom, I'm not sure, but I think Tom's brand is like to piss Tom off. I think
Piss
we got something
Tom's
here.
own brand is to piss himself off.
Yeah, we got something here, guys.
So we're Statler and Waldorf. That's
That's
the
correct. You know their names. That's impressive.
no, I got to be honest. I know how to use Google. So I looked up.
You probably looked up to them as a kid, right, Tom?
I looked up their names. I did find them funny when I was a kid. I'm not gonna
Them
lie.
and Oscar the Grouch were his favorite. No, I like
No, Oscar the Grouch legitimately was my favorite character on Sesame Street.
Oh,
that's
not
actually
surprising.
100% true.
All right, there we go. Living in a garbage can. But there is something here. I'm not lying. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something here.
But no, that's
John
I mean,
was like Kermit kind of, but you're kind of like both of those guys.
yeah, no, 100%. I still have somewhere. It's it might be in my desk. Where it's somewhere on my desk. I'm almost positive. I got to look for it. My desk is a freaking mess. But I've got a little Oscar the Grouch figure that I've had since I was a little kid, kicking around somewhere in here.
How come this does not surprise anybody here? No
Yeah.
one's saying, "No, Tom, no, you're not Oscar the Grouch." Everyone's laughing and like.
I mean, he was my favorite character when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know, like I don't know what to tell you, but I like.
And I loved
Tom,
Snuffleupagus
go
and
with this,
Ernie. Snuffleupagus and Ernie, things that were so lovable and treated everybody good. You know, that's who I embraced. You know, not the mean one.
The path of least resistance. There you go.
Yeah, the easy path. All right, come on.
What do you
Tom,
got
let's
for show and tell this week, buddy?
Okay, I'm keeping it simple. You know that I am one of the toughest people around. So I was over at a friend's house one day, and he wanted to shoot clay pigeons, and I had never done this before. And like, how hard can it be? They pull these things, and the little disc, and I don't know, little disc comes out of this machine, and we shoot them up in the air. For 2 hours, I missed every one of these dumb things that came out of this thing. Like maybe his rifle was too small, or shotgun's too small. I had a big bruise on myself. So today's show and tell, because I have to get better at everything, is my clay pigeons. I bought a box, and I've been practicing with Jimmy periodically. Go up to his camp. These clay pigeons, now I can hit them, and I can hit multiples. I'm not to my friend Nick who shoots them down there, but I became better. I went out and got some myself. I took on the challenge, and someday I'm going to be great at it. So, Tom, my clay pigeons is today's show and tell.
I mean, hey, look, skeet shooting or trap shooting is a lot of fun. I've done that quite a bit. I actually used to, when I lived up in Alaska, the American Legion Hall had a trap range, and on Sunday mornings, they would do a trap shoot. It was open to the public. You just, you paid $10 or $20, whatever it was, to cover the cost of the clays. And you could go down there and shoot clays. Yeah, it was a great time. I always had fun doing it. Dr. Tachi said, what do you do with the clay pigeons after? Well, the clay, they're made from biodegradable clay. So they're made from, and they're kind of fragile, actually. It's surprising that they actually they don't fall apart when they get thrown. But yeah, they're biodegradable. So they stay where they fall, and they end up breaking down over time and just kind of returning to the earth. But they're just made out of pressed clay. Like they're not that complicated.
You could make a mosaic out of it. Maybe Dr. Tachi could make a mosaic, start another business. We said she should start a hat business one day, and now she can start a recycling clay pigeon business.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. The trick, Dom, and I'm sure somebody told you this.
They tell me everything and they never get it right. Go on.
The trick is, not only do you have to lead the clay, right, a little bit with your shotgun, right? First of all, if you're shooting a rifle, you're definitely going to miss every single one of them. I'd be surprised if you hit any. So I hope you're using a shotgun.
Shotgun, yep.
Yeah, okay. But you have to lead the clay. But then the real trick is after you pull the trigger when your gun's in motion. And after you pull the trigger, you keep the gun in motion, right? The real trick is you don't stop when you pull the trigger. You keep the gun in motion. So if you got the shotgun shouldered and you're following the clay across, you pull the trigger in the middle, and you keep going. You keep following the clay or the trajectory, and that's the real key. Once you get the leading right, is keeping the gun moving through the trigger pull, and then you'll hit them pretty regularly and pretty easily. So that's my feedback for you. I've shot I've killed a lot of clays over the years in various contexts, and yeah, that's the big trick, is just making sure once you get the lead right, and you're used to the gun a little bit, is just making sure that that you continue the gun through like moving through the arc. And then the last thing is you can get a bruise from a 12 gauge. They've got a little bit of kick on them. So they also make sporting vests that have a pad, right, that goes on your shoulder up by your collarbone where the butt rests, and that helps distribute the shock from the gun, from the kickback on the gun a little bit. So that's my two thoughts. But I like it. Hey, trying new things and shooting sporting clays is a good time.
Dare I say a thumbs up, Tom?
I mean, if you had given me that as Tom's thumbs, I would have absolutely given it a thumbs up.
Okay, I'll work on it. I'll work on it since you get cranky.
But instead, you just, you give me a day.
April 15th, you could have said that's the day that so many people get refunds and they're able to go out and buy a new something that costs
Most people don't get their refunds on April 15th.
Maybe they get them. Well, they probably do their taxes earlier. I don't know, man. What you're doing? Wait until the last minute. Okay, Tom. This has been Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We talked about a lot of things today, from Breaking Bad to taxes to clay pigeons to the heat we were getting. What'd you call it? Secondary heat. What'd you say I was getting?
Catching strays.
Catching strays. Yeah, this has been a gangster show. Okay, wrap us up, Tom. What do you got?
Well, so here's what I would say is, like, obviously we all have favorite series. And I come from, because of my background, because of my history in production, I watch TV a little bit differently than most people. And so, and some people don't like watching TV with me because I tend to ruin things or pull back the curtain in a way that they don't necessarily appreciate all the time. But what I would encourage people to do is, as you watch shows or series, as you're rewatching your favorite series, or really digging into something that you're enjoying and watching it, if you're watching it on streaming and you're just binging episodes, what I would encourage people to do is, one, actually take a few minutes, not necessarily during the show, but after the show, maybe talking to a friend or a loved one or a family member or colleague or somebody you watch the show with, talking about why you like the show. And then I would say go one step further and take lessons from your favorite shows and apply them to the way that you create content, the way you tell stories around your brand and your business. Use the lessons from the things that you enjoy, that you recreate watching. Use those lessons and apply them to and allow them to inform the way that you create content for your brand or your business. Storytelling is incredibly important. It is a skill that you can develop and improve at over time with practice. Remember, practice makes improvement. So study the lessons from your favorite shows and then take those lessons and apply them to the way that you create content for your brand and your business. And I believe that over time you will see improvements in engagement around that content, and you will help get your story out there, which is something we all need to do, especially in the media environment that we live in now. So that's my wrap up for you guys. Really appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate your patience. Even though I'm not sure we could call it patience, because Dom kind of started out by giving me grief for being late, even though I was at the dentist this morning. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Appreciate your patience with me being a little bit behind today. Thanks for sticking around. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. You guys are the reason why We do not the smartest guys in the room. You make us not the smartest guys in the room. We appreciate all of your input and insight and thoughts on the things that we talk about every week. And who knows? Come back next week. Maybe Dom will give me something I can give a thumbs up for once. We'll have to see. Anyway, that's all I got. So I'm Tom for Dom. We're not the smartest guys in the room. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. We love you guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.